Welcome to another episode of the Superhero Movie Club, a community of superhero movie fans. All nerds welcome, but please wipe your feet at the door. I'm your comic book cultured host, Michael Maurer, joined by the movie maestro
James Schuyler Houtsma.
and the scientific scholar.
Ben Anderson. SHMC is your premier movie discussion podcast. Every week, we continue on our journey, exploring your favorite subject, superhero movies. Every fan sees the movies differently, so we gather some amateur experts to discuss certain aspects of the movie.
Whether it's money, comic books, music, or science, SHMC talks about it all in this week's episode. Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer. And yes,
Sorry. Damn it.
there will be spoilers.
Okay. Is there a 2 at the end of that Fantastic Four title?
I
That's a
don't
good
believe
question.
so. No, I think it's just... I've got the Wikipedia page here. It's just Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer.
I don't know
'Cause
why. Yeah.
Because that'd be really dumb to have a title where the main group has a number in it, and then you would also put the sequel number in it. Because then it'd be Fantastic 42. And
Yeah.
people would be like, what happened to the first 41?
Well, I mean, if you spell out the word "for," and we're addressing this topic too much. Let's go around first opinions of the film. We're gonna start with Skylar.
I used to be kind of meh, blah, 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 on Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer. But I must say, after seeing the new and improved Fantastic Four, now I'm more like, yeah, this is Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, whatever. Not a particularly good movie. It's fluffy and entertaining and accessible for kids. Still suffers from some woefully miscast characters. Action isn't terribly interesting, and neither are the characterizations. There's nothing deeper going on than a bunch of okay time kill.
I just lost you, Skylar.
Yeah, you still there, buddy?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Barely.
Yeah, you're going in and out.
God damn
That's what
it.
she said.
All right.
Did you get all my stuff though?
Not really. Cut the video and try that from after describing woefully miscast.
Okay, let me try that again. Some woefully miscast characters. Action's not all that interesting. Fluffy superheroics, but hey, it's a good time kill.
Okay. And go ahead, Ben.
Oh shit, the cat's on my bed. Oh, get out of here. I'm not sure that this movie is actually that much better than the newest Fantastic Four movie. I watched it. It was pretty bad.
Well, you have to describe why, Benjamin.
Describe why. Four letters. I'll give you a hint. It's fuck. No. Tone. The tone was completely off. Because in my mind, like, yes, Fantastic Four. They're like, this kind of campy superhero family, and they're fun and lighthearted. But to me, Silver Surfer is a bit of a tragic figure, and so the movie should have, oh my goodness, this cat. The movie should have dealt with that more. I don't know. It just felt it should have been darker because the Silver Surfer's in it.
Oh, okay. Ben, do me a favor when you talk. Move your face back about an inch and a half. You're getting muffled by your own microphone.
Like this? Is that better?
That should be, yeah, that's good.
Do you want me to give my opinion again, or?
No, that's fine. That was perfectly fine. Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer. Again, when you Skylar's right. When you look back at it after seeing the 2015, if you compare the Fantastic Four 2015 to any superhero movie, I think outside of like Batman and Robin or some of the truly, truly dreadful things of before 2000, or maybe not Catwoman, the other superhero movie is going to come out on top. But when looking back at Fantastic Four Silver Surfer, I remember watching this film originally and going, this is just another sequel, and it's fluff. I really appreciate Michael Chiklis's acting as the Thing. Chris Evans does a wonderful job as Human Torch. Ioan Gruffudd is very bland as Reed. He doesn't really put anything into the performance. And please, Jessica Alba, that was probably some of the worst acting she's ever done. And it's a shame too, because she's not, I don't think, a bad actress overall. But in this role, she was so dull, and just she filled no role other than to be the girl of the movie, and it was kind of offensive. But Ben, you're right in that when you put Silver Surfer in the title and you don't really focus on him at all in the film, it can bring it down. But looking back at Fantastic Four, I gotta give props to the attempt to really center on all the core aspects of what the F4 are all about. You know, Reed's the smart one who does all this science gibbery gook and who is constantly involved in his work that it alienates his personal life. Johnny is the goof around who, in the end, takes a big, courageous step to prove that he's not a kid anymore. The Thing is this tortured figure who's just, you know, he does everything to help everyone, but people still reject him because of his exterior. And, of course, Sue does her best to keep the family together, as dysfunctional as it is, and really wants to raise a family, even though there's a family in front of her. And, you know, this movie does really well in hitting those points. Maybe not like 100% on target, but like it addresses them, unlike completely discarding and not really replacing those core values with anything of substance, like in the 2015 Fantastic Four. And we're only comparing it so much because it's so fresh in our minds. So looking back, I gotta say, I give Rise of the Silver Surfer a lot more credit than I originally intended, simply because it did its best at really trying to bring the original Fantastic Four comic books onto the screen. And it creates another example of you can't translate that stuff literally, because it's going to come off cheesy, corny, and it's not going to look that great. But at the same time, they did their best, and I think they came out with a pretty serviceable product.
I just have a couple things I want to add.
Uh-huh.
When you texted me the other day reminding me to watch this, you called it FF2, and I was very excited to watch Fast and Furious 2. Too Fast, Too Furious.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, oh wait, that's not a comic book movie. But I'm on the casting. I think if Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson played, you know, The Rock from Fantastic Four, I think that would have been great. He would have been perfect for that role.
I still think Chiklis did very well.
Yeah, he was a decent choice. Probably the best cast in the movie. But the other thing I had was my other big beef with this movie was the whole message of we're more than a team, we're a family, we have to work together. And then like in the final big action scene when they face off against the Silver Surfer and Doom, they're just like, okay, Johnny Blaze, you take everyone, like you just go, you do it, even though like 3 action scenes ago you did this and it was terrible and we told you never to do it again. I don't know. I feel like they're kind of inconsistent there with their message.
It wasn't perfect, but it tried to hit on the point that Johnny's really stepping up and being the courageous member because he's proven he's not a kid anymore. But you're right, because like the typical Fantastic Four end conflict is that they solve the big issue by working together. But if the 2015 film has proved anything, that is now a cliche of an ending.
Speaking of cliche, This is one of the first superhero movies to go full on military industrial complex is bad, y'all. Because that's like the whole plot of the movie.
Yeah, that and Superman 3, Superman 4, Quest for Peace, Batman Returns. There's plenty out there. This was the first of the new era, I'd say.
How is Batman Returns?
Batman Returns, the character known as Max Schreck. Oh, that was more capitalism than military-industrial complex. I apologize.
Yeah, I was gonna say he had a corp. Yeah. Anyway, no, this was right on the cusp of Iron Man came a year after, but hair.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Skylar, but you are cutting out mad core.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but I'm starting to lose your sound quality a lot. It goes up and down. I'll lose you, and I think that you're gone for a long time, and then you'll come back. It's weird. I think we're just gonna push through, but just talk slower, I guess.
Sure. Give me going to unplug the Ethernet cable from the desktop right by me, the laptop.
Doom chicka doom chicka doom chicka doom chicka doom chicka doom chicka doom chicka. What?
Da-da-da-da. Oh man, have you seen the movie Brazil?
Yeah, I've seen the movie Brazil.
Oh, it's so good. I saw it for the first time the other night.
I watched that with my buddy Shimo. We were really confused. We were really confused about what the fucking point of it at the end was. Honestly, we didn't get it. It flew over our heads.
Yeah, I mean it's not much to get. This guy goes crazy, and yeah.
But there's a lot of symbolism there. There's a lot of movies that there's a lot of papers that discuss that film. It's rated in the top 5 sci-fi films in almost all of your big sci-fi lists.
Yeah.
Which one is this?
Brazil. I mean, sorry, it's not Brazil.
Brazil.
It's a great movie.
Nice. Does this help any? Is the
No.
Oh. Sorry, yeah, you just talked for a little bit there. We lost the last 5 words.
But does this help?
Yeah. I don't know if you've got anything open. If Melissa is watching Netflix right now, Netflix is
nothing of the sort.
Stream hog.
Are you torrenting large batches of pornographic film?
No, only small batches. Sorry.
Okay, well you don't want to be torrenting anything.
No, probably not.
Okay, well we're just gonna push through.
Yep.
So here we go. All right, so to pick things up, let's talk about the budget on this film, or how much money it brought in, with a production budget of around $130 million. Didn't Ant-Man have that exact same production budget?
If I recall correctly, yeah, that number sounds pretty similar.
Okay.
And that's 8 years displaced, so...
Yeah.
Either Ant-Man's really cheap, or this was ahead of its time.
Well, it brought in about the same amount of money, $131.9 million, and in foreign, a little bit more, 157, for a grand total of $289 million. But I mean, that's no runaway success, but that's still good enough to get by.
Right. This movie came out mid-June 2007, a couple of weeks after the third Pirates movie and the third Ocean's 11, a couple of weeks before the first Transformers movie. So it had a window to be successful. But
yeah, it didn't. It wasn't building from the original. Is the thing.
no, not really. I mean, I don't think a whole lot of people came out of the first Fantastic Four movie like, oh, I need a sequel right now. Gah. But I don't know. It's a movie that made its budget back, made a profit for Fox, and it existed. It wasn't a runaway success, but it did its job.
Yeah, and that's something we probably need to discuss a little bit. I'm sure many of our fans already know, but when you talk money on a Fantastic Four film, everything is so skewed because this film, it's weird that like making money in some aspect has become a lowered priority because more than anything, the film just needs to get made. And we always say money is a concern, but this is weird because 20th Century Fox owns the rights to put Fantastic Four characters on film in movies, and I believe it's a 7-year contract. Whereas if they don't put out a film product that features the Fantastic Four, they have to relinquish those licensed properties. So every 7 years, you get a very kind of rushed Fantastic Four film, and that's just why we as the fans kind of feel cheated because they're not trying to produce a quality product. They're trying to make, but I'm sure they are trying to produce a quality product, but at the same time, they're not planning accordingly with what they're given because they're not allowed to take their time, and they won't. So they'll just every 7 years we might get some dumbed down version of what is a great comic book property.
Now, whether it be movies or video games, whatever kind of media, when you put a release date as your first priority, it almost always automatically hampers the quality of it. So that can stand for basically anything.
Yeah, it's just putting pressure, and people don't respond well to pressure most of the time. But let's go on and move towards comic book relations and how the comic book characters of the Fantastic Four how they have influenced this film. So starting off, the story of Fantastic Four 2 Rise of the Silver Surfer is based on a very famous trilogy of comic books came out in the 1960s called the Galactus Trilogy. And these were Fantastic Four number 48 through 50, done by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. And this, of course, is the big story where you introduce characters like Galactus and the Silver Surfer, and you have characters like the big-headed Watcher, who vows never to interfere in Earth's doings, but does so all the time. Very similar to how Heimdall does it in Thor, where it's just like, I'm not allowed to take you anywhere, but I'm just going to leave the sword here, and you can do whatever you want. That is the Watcher. And so the Silver Surfer, in the end of it, saves the day by fighting back Galactus, and they use this thing called the Ultimate Nullifier, which is a device that can destroy universes, and they use it as like a deterrent against Galactus so that he doesn't eat their world. But the big thing about this, the reason this was so monumental, besides introducing so much sci-fi juicy goodness, is this was probably some of Jack Kirby's best art. He knocked this stuff out of the park, and it is just such great space sci-fi goodness. It can be a little bit of a rough read considering that it's a 50-year-old story, but the essence is still very much there. The story in the film is also slightly based on Fantastic Four Annual number 3 as well, which was, of course, the wedding of Reed Richards and Sue Storm. But that comic book is way different because it's just a fan service where Marvel all-star heroes and villains just show up to disrupt the wedding in any way possible. So let's talk about some other things that were introduced in the film, such as the Fantasticar, which appeared in Fantastic Four number 3. And this is a classic callback to basically how the Fantastic Four get around, because when you've got a guy like the Thing, you got to explain how he gets from point A to point B without having their own private jet, which they do. And it was just a little bit of a fun cameo. There's no real utilitous need to put the Fantastic Car in a movie, but I don't get why we always need to have it in all of Fantastic Four properties.
What was that really gratuitous product placement line that happened between Johnny and Reed? Is that a Hemi? Of course.
Yeah, I don't know. That's Dodge Ram.
And then I puked.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I don't know. That was. There were so many throwaway lines in the movie like that just brought it down. At its core, they were doing a really good thing, but when some of those lines were just like, why would you write something so trite into the script that just doesn't build towards anything? The next character I want to talk about is Frankie Ray, who is the U.S. Army lady friend that eventually Johnny hooks up with in the end. She was more of a cameo in that she barely had more than 5-10 lines in the film, but she was made in 1975 by Roy Thomas and George Perez, and she's notable because she dated Johnny Storm despite having a fear of fire, like literal pyrophobia, and it's also ironic because she later turned out to be a mutant who had almost the exact same power set as the Human Torch. And then she had a strange period where she volunteered to be Galactus's new herald and donned the moniker Nova for a while. And it's a fun character in history, but in terms of the film, not a whole lot going on. Next up, I'm going to talk about Alicia Masters. She debuted in Fantastic Four number 8 in 1962, and this isn't her first appearance. She did premiere, of course, at the very end of the first Fantastic Four, but this is the first time she gets more than like 3 lines. She is, of course, the blind daughter of a Fantastic Four villain called the Puppet Master, and she's known for her relationship with Ben. You know, being blind, not being able to see the grotesque figure that Ben Grimm has as the Thing. But unfortunately, she's sort of portrayed as frequently a damsel in distress. There's no real attempt to make her like an independent blind woman. No real attempt to make her kind of a female Daredevil. She's sort of like at the mercy of everyone around her. Like when things start going down, she's like, "What's happening? What's going on?" And you kind of feel like if the helicopter is coming down on you, you would, like in that Fantastic Four 2 scene, you would understand the situation. Loud noises probably get down.
Yeah, you'd kind of think, but Stan Lee's writing of women in the 60s, bah.
Yeah. Everyone's writing of the women in the 60s.
Almost as sexist as this movie.
Yeah, kind of. And her significance is that she is the character originally who shows the Silver Surfer that there is beauty in the Earth and eventually converts him to fight back against Galactus instead of Sue Storm. But I can understand the use of Sue Storm to sort of compact the story more. Next up, we're getting finally to the big 2 characters who were introduced in this movie, and first of them is Galactus. All right, debuted, of course, in Fantastic Four number 48, talked about that, Lee and Kirby, and he is pure sci-fi amazingness. He is the brainchild of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby's many brainstorming sessions. His backstory is an explorer named Galan, who is in the universe that existed before the Big Bang. And then an event called the Big Crunch happened, which killed all sentience, or it killed every single molecule in the universe and compressed it all down, which eventually resulted in the Big Bang. But he was the only survivor of this Big Crunch and bonded with the sentience of the universe and thus became Galactus. He needs energy, of entire planets to sustain himself. He lives on a solar system-wide Mobius strip spaceship called Tala 2, I think.
He
And
needs an entire planet's worth of energy just to maintain that bitchin' headpiece he has.
oh yes, and he yes, he's a frequent Marvel big baddie. Let's talk about the headpiece real quick because I want to ask the fans because I couldn't figure this out. Is there a utility to why the headpiece is shaped like that? Is it part of his head? Is that how his head is literally shaped? Or does he have a normal looking head, humanoid head underneath there? I'm asking the fans here because I couldn't find out. So that is our social media fan challenge. Tweet your answers to us, or respond to the show notes of this episode at our subreddit. Ben?
Oh yeah, subreddit reddit.com/r/superhero MC. No, hold on. What is it actually?
Go to reddit.com and search Superhero Movie Club. That is how I want you to say it.
Yeah, go to reddit.com, search Superhero Movie Club.
Boom. Yeah. Seriously, why does he have that such ridiculous helmet? And in the movie, they sort of made the choice to not go with that helmet, but instead make him a world-eating cloud, which angered a lot of fans because they wanted to see big head guy. But of course, if you're a studio executive, I can completely understand why you do not want to go that route.
Side note, as long as we're talking about villains sucking, Doom still sucked in this movie. Thank you.
Yeah. I was seeing if we could go through the whole episode without bringing up how we hate Doom in this film. I'm going to go at length about Doctor Doom in the first Fantastic Four movie because they just change so much about that character to the point where it's not even fun anymore. There's only one other thing I want to note in that in the Ultimate Marvel universe, there's a massive planet flesh-eating swarm called Galactus, and where they just enunciate the 3 syllables instead of making it one. What?
That's pretty silly.
Yeah, but that's the inspiration for why using a cloud instead of a guy with a big head in the film. And the thing about the cloud is it's not very menacing. It's because it's not you don't really feel the danger.
We don't see it do anything until it shows up on Earth.
Yeah.
After the Silver Surfer already made all those craters, and we're like, okay, well.
Yeah, so that was the big thing about Galactus is like he's gonna end your planet. Well, it doesn't really feel like it. Like you're not preempting the crisis at all. And I guess in a real world situation we wouldn't know, it would just happen. But it's a movie, guys. Make it exciting.
I can just see the board meeting for when Green Lantern was being made, and they're like, "Oh, hey, people really loved that Fantastic Four movie where the Cloud was the villain. Let's do that."
No. We need to put a face on it because they didn't like how there wasn't a face.
Yes, clearly that was the problem.
Clearly.
Yep.
All right,
Yeah.
do it. 2011, Ryan Reynolds. And so the last character I want to talk about is, of course, the big one, the titular Silver Surfer. Originally, he was shoehorned into this Galactus comic book storyline by Jack Kirby. Kirby drew him into the story and pitched the Herald idea to Stan. And Stanley's like, we didn't talk about this, Jack. But also, why does he have a surfboard? Because I'm sick. Jack Kirby responded by saying, because he's sick of drawing spaceships. Because that's all Stan Lee would do in his stories, would just have so many spaceships. But the origin story of, the fictional biography of the Silver Surfer is, of course, he's a man named Norrin Rad of the planet Zenlaw, married to a woman named Shalabal. Say that 18 times fast. He's also an explorer whose species reached utopian status and therefore had no need for exploration, so it discouraged him from exploring, because why would you go anywhere, Norrin, when everything you could ever want is right in front of you? which is it's kind of an interesting premise, actually. Galactus comes around to Zenlaw in his early years and starts eating the planet slowly, and Norrin makes a deal to be his herald. I'll do this job for you. I'll zoom out, find good planets, and you won't eat this one. And he's like, okay, fine. But Norrin made the idea of, I'm only going to lead him to non-sentient life planets. But of course, Galactus was going to have none of that. So in the transformation to imbue the power cosmic into Norrin Rad, Galactus also changed his soul and converted him into the Silver Surfer, which had no regard for sentient life. Until Alicia Masters showed him differently in the Coming of Galactus storyline, where Silver Surfer defied Galactus, was disowned as a herald, and trapped on Earth with an invisible force field that only affected him. God, I'm sorry if I'm going too far into the backstory here, but I love just the random sci-fi stuff that Stan Lee can come up with.
Silver Surfer is a really great character.
Yeah, it's just a lot of fun.
There's a really great episode of the 90s Fantastic Four cartoon, and when I say really great, I mean verging on mediocre, because that show's not that great. But it's the last episode. It's based on the comic where Doom eventually steals the Surfer's powers and whatnot, as he does in this movie. And the invisible force field comes into play because Reed essentially just tricks him into going up into space to destroy this thing, and he wipes out on this force field and gets disintegrated, and it's amazing.
Oh my God, they killed Doom? Oh, I guess I didn't watch all of that. But yeah, that invisible force field stays in play for such a long time because all Silver Surfer wants to do is go back to Zenlaw. So with the help of Reed Richards, he penetrates the invisible force field, goes back to Zenlaw to see it completely barren. And then he finds out that Shalabal was kidnapped by Marvel equivalents of the Devil, Mephisto, so then he traps himself back on Earth by going through the force field again, frees Shalabal from Mephisto, where then he sends her back to Zenlaw with the power to reestablish that world, and then he finds another way to get through the force field again, goes back to Zenlaw, finds Shalabal is Queen of Zenlaw, and their love can now never be because she owes too much to the people. He's a really tortured, tragic character. He's constantly the fish out of water because he is the one character that can access any situation without regard for social context. And that it allowed him to grow into Stan Lee's favorite character because it allowed him to do a lot of social commentary on different issues and in a poetic way. So you could talk about the Vietnam War from a complete outsider perspective or different humanitarian struggles.
Once Fox or Marvel or whoever gets their act together with Fantastic Four, Silver Surfer, all related characters, we need a good Mephisto on screen.
Mephisto is not... Oh, Mephisto's owned by Marvel now.
Well, there's a Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones. Oh wait, no, that's Kid Fisto. Never mind.
Oh. Yeah, because Mephisto falls under the Ghost Rider characters.
Speaking of which, I think I accidentally called the Human Torch Johnny Blaze earlier.
You would like to rescind that from the record?
That was my bad.
Okay. Well, the only other thing I can say is there is actually a 12-episode season-long Silver Surfer animated TV show drawn in the style of Jack Kirby. It is a fantastic show. I wouldn't say it was meant for kids because there's a lot of existential script in that very small run. And of course it ends halfway through a season finale too, a two-parter. It doesn't come out with its last episode. It got canceled before that last episode. But definitely check it out because it's actually a lot of really fun, cool 90s cartoon good stuff. There's a lot of good Marvel stuff that came out in the 90s that was meant for kids / not meant for kids. slash some of it's good, some of it's bad. I don't know how to fully explain it. It was a weird time. It's what a lot of us grew up on, really. But that's all I have to say about comic books. So Skylar, take it away to the music. Describe to us some music stuff that went along with Fantastic Four 2, Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Alrightio then. Music for Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer is done by John Ottman, composer of the first Fantastic Four movie, and someone we've talked to about before on the show in our X-Men Days of Future Past episode. Much like the music to the first Fantastic Four movie, this is another fluffy, bright, run-of-the-mill superhero score that fits perfectly with the movie that it accompanies. Let's take our first listen to Chasing the Surfer, accompanying the, I don't know, I guess you'd say most known scene of the film where Johnny is chasing down the surfer after Reed and Sue's wedding.
Skylar, I sure hope you're not leading with probably one of the best musical moments of the movie.
I didn't think so. I thought I picked out enough good stuff to sustain the section, but if you feel that way.
That was just one of my favorite moments of, well, musically.
No, it's rock solid, I would say. Let's see what we've got for the next item up in the queue here. Next up in the list is Botched Heroics. Let's see if that can match the last track in quality.
Skylar, what do you think distinguishes a John Ottman score from the rest?
Oh man, I've been trying to put my finger on, what is so significant about his music, and it's tough to say because the melodies usually aren't too pronounced. I feel like he's trying to imitate John Williams in some regard, in how he layers his stuff, but on the whole, I'd say it's kind of a brighter sound from him that tips you off to the fact that this is one of his scores. I also thought it was really funny in picking out these tracks that the dude's definitely got a formula, because for two of them, it was 50 seconds to a minute and 29 two times in a row. So he's got his rhythm for tracks down, apparently.
Oh, like they build to a certain point at the same point.
Yeah, just introduce it for the first 50 seconds, then the interesting part kicks in, and then you get a break around 1:30. Bing, bang, boom.
I'm making a score here. What do you want me to do? Bing, bang,
Wham,
boom.
bam, thank you, ma'am.
John Ottman is just like the pizza boss from Futurama. Hey, I'm making a score here. Don't touch the tubas.
They're not ready yet. There you go. All right, let's listen to the last track I've got for this section, and that is Pursuing Doom. There's so much chasing and pursuing and going after in this score. I don't even know what to do anymore. Cue it up.
You know what? I'm going to go ahead and say it. I don't think John Ottman is the right man for Fantastic Four. Not to say this wasn't a great set of songs and score. This wasn't a great score, because I think it very much is. It's very engaging. It keeps you in tune, but at the same time, his style I don't think captures the mood of this film. Actually, I don't think. I think it settles back on what Ben said earlier, in that this film doesn't really have a locked and solid tone.
No, I would agree with that. I think that this is one of the films where he kind of follows the director more than does his own thing, in that the tone goes back and forth, whatnot, and the music reflects that. It works perfectly with the movie, but the movie's problems can translate over to music easily.
Yeah.
What do you think the music for a good Fantastic Four movie needs?
Well, that's such an interesting question, because we have yet to really settle on what direction we want the story to go for in the first place. Because these films that were both directed, the 2004, right? That was when that first one came out?
5.
The 2005 and the now 2012?
2007.
Oh my god.
Sorry, 2015 was the one this year.
No,
2005, 2007.
Okay. So these two films, 2005 and 2007 one, that were directed by Tim Story, you see that he's drawing a lot of inspiration from the comic books and the original dynamic that these characters had in their beginning in the 1960s. And that's a 50-year-old dynamic that isn't really exactly the same today. It could use some modernization. And the film doesn't really translate that well, so we get a lot of corniness, a lot of trite conversation that isn't really necessary to the plot, and you're busy developing the relationships between the characters, but not the characters on their own outside of the Thing is the only one that really gets dived into. And in this 2015 version, you get a little bit darker, but it didn't fully commit to the darkness, is the thing. So it's hard to determine, what do you want? Do you want light and fluffy Fantastic Four? Do you want more of that? Do you want a cerebral Fantastic Four? Do you want a very dark, horrific? Because that'd be just an interesting turn on the whole property, because we haven't seen it before. And we don't know yet what we want out of this 5-decade-old team that has hundreds of stories.
It goes back to what we were talking about during Watchmen. You cannot translate a comic book directly to a film medium. It just does not work. It comes across, corny, cheesy, or just weird. It feels wrong.
Well, yeah, I think
and
with
how
Watchmen,
how do you translate the most comic booky comic book?
yeah.
I don't know a good way to do it. I don't know if anyone does.
No, I mean, I can't even say, oh yeah, you should do it this way, because we've seen it go bad on one spectrum in the corny, and we've seen it go bad on the other spectrum in the gritty depressing shit.
Yeah, because I don't know if Watchmen's the best analogy, because Watchmen was covering like the script of that one story word by word, whereas this movie is taking the Fantastic Four from one era and picking that version of it to put onto screen. It's kind of similar to like the Spider-Man films. They didn't really settle very much on the modern Spider-Man, or it really went to the origin of Spider-Man, and you get a kind of a 1960s Spider-Man in those Sam Raimi films. And for some reason that translated a bit better and holds up better than these do. It's so hard to to figure on what clicks. What about this story clicks outside of they're a family, and you want to see a superhero family succeed because every other superhero is on their own.
I think what we can all agree on is it would be great to have a filmmaker who's actually interested in making a great Fantastic Four movie instead of a studio that's trying to hit a release date.
Yeah.
That's the biggest deterrent of this entire property. So, but we detracted a bit far from music there. So, is there any other music you want to talk about?
No, I'm good. What's up, Ben?
We need to Guillermo del Toro to do the Hellboy treatment to this, or like whoever likes Fantastic Four as much as Guillermo likes Hellboy.
Really?
That's who we need. I don't know who that is, if that person even exists, but
Matthew Vaughn.
Yeah.
Matthew Vaughn's a huge Fantastic Four fan. He was the producer on the 2015 one, wasn't he?
I believe so, yeah. But
that one just had a massive problems, though.
Well, yeah. Wasn't he supposed to make a Fantastic Four movie back in like 2002 that would have been a period piece, and it had Charlize Theron and Jude Law in it?
Oh, I don't know. I do remember that there were plans for a 2004, I think, Silver Surfer standalone. That sort of fell apart due to budget concerns, I think. No, the script never made it out of development hell.
Understandable. Just to give another segue so you can cut easier. No, I don't have anything more in music.
Thank you. So, you know what that means?
Hey.
Ben.
I'm doing well. How are you?
Didn't even ask you how you
doing. I jumped
you
the
jumped
gun.
the
I'm so
gun.
sorry.
You're messing with the system, man.
Oh man, our whole rapport is just it's gone out the window behind me.
Oh, well, let's see if you can pick yourself up in this science edition of this podcast. And there is so little going on in this film. Even though Reed Richards is a scientist, like the smartest in the world, it is so vaguely explained that you would barely believe it.
Oh, it's not explained at all. He's just like, here's this thing I made. It does something. Go use it. And we're like, okay, it's a comic book movie. What do you want?
To be fair, that's exactly what he does in the comic books in the early times. It's still what he does.
Yeah.
It solves problems by creating a magic doohickey.
It's very true to the source material. So science. Cosmic radiation, I guess.
Let's talk about real quick. Just real quick. Do you remember when Reed Richards was trying to figure out where the Silver Surfer was going to strike next?
Yep.
And there was all of these dancing equations on the screen describing and creating this algorithm.
Yeah, I tried like pausing and going frame by frame. Like, oh, what's that one? What's that one? But I honestly couldn't be bothered.
Okay, it's all right. It could just be gibberish.
Basically, I'm guessing what he's doing is he is finding the latitude and longitude of the different places and then ordering them in the order that they appeared, and then finding some
pattern.
Some pattern, yeah, and then creating a polynomial interpolation.
Okay.
which just means he's finding a line, a smooth line that connects all these points, and then using that
Correlation.
it's called interpolation.
Okay.
And yeah, basically he's just like finding a line, but in like across a sphere. So I'm taking a numerical methods class, and it's all right now. We just finished a chapter on polynomial interpolation, so it's kind of fresh in my mind. So that's probably what he's doing. He's just fitting a curve, but like around a sphere, where these
Okay.
are, and then being like, okay, well, it's going to show up here because there's a pattern.
Right.
Science, magic, whatever.
Which one would you rather talk about first year? Pre Big Bang universe
Yeah, let's do
or the
that. So
possibilities of?
because
Okay.
because Galactus's origins, we talked about them earlier. They're not really mentioned in the film, so I'm not going to really mention them in the science section for this film. But basically, the whole pre-Big Bang universe, there's different theories for how the universe started and what happened, like what came before. And one of the more popular theories is that before this universe, like if you go back in time, the universe shrinks and shrinks and shrinks until it's infinitesimally small. And then when it was infinitesimally small, that represents the beginning of this universe and all of time and space. Um, and the idea is that if you, okay, now, and then I'm going to completely redo this. So the best way to get at the whole Big Crunch origin of Galactus's, or the aspect of Galactus's origin, is if you fast forward the universe until it's over, whatever that means.
Mm-hmm.
One of the more popular models for how the end of the universe might go down is that, like how the universe began with a big bang, with a sudden expansion of space that represented the beginning of time, matter, energy, and everything. The idea is that gravity will pull the universe back together, and everything will crunch down back to that infinitesimally small point that it started at. At which point, it would presumably begin again. There'd be another big bang.
Oh, so if I was
So
at the center of this, I would bond with the sentience of the universe?
you'd be crushed down to something infinitesimally small. Unfortunately, there's not much, you know,
Darn.
not really anything that could survive that.
I was hoping if this career in Chicago didn't work out, I could just bank on that.
You could throw yourself into a black hole and be kind of similar, but
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
you'd be crushed down to almost nothing at all.
I suppose Galactus is a black hole.
Yeah, if he devours whole planets. Although black holes don't like need to consume things. They're just like
Mm.
very dense, so
But they
they
just,
do.
they just do.
Yeah.
But I mean, so does Galactus. He just does. You don't really know why outside of he needs it to survive.
I
Uh,
That's kind of what I
that's a,
always understood, but maybe he
yeah.
just consumes planets because that's what he does.
Yeah, he's never really tested out if he didn't, because we don't know if he didn't need a planet, would he die?
Yeah.
Because no, there's
What's
no
his
one like him.
motivations? Is it survival? Is he
He's
just a force of nature? I'm kind of guessing he's just a force of nature, but I
he's
haven't
just
read that many Galactus related storylines, so
he's just to show up that this conflict's gonna be big because Galactus
he
is here.
represents. I'm guessing like most comic book villains that were created in the 60s and 70s, he represents nuclear Armageddon.
Not in this case, actually.
Oh, really?
This is pure sci-fi.
Well, I mean, you can have sci-fi villains that represent nuclear Armageddon. It was
Yeah,
the Cold War, man. How could it not be nuclear Armageddon? Everything was about nuclear Armageddon.
well, because the main motivation of now we're getting back into comic books. The main
He
motivation
is
of
going to
Galactus
devour the
is
planet. It is imminent, and there's nothing we can do to prevent it. And it's the 60s. Or,
okay, and the ultimate nullifier was a detente. It was sort of
and
mutually
the thing that
assured
stops him
destruction.
is a deterrent advice, or
Yeah,
a deterrent. They don't beat him, they just convince him not to show up.
it's true. I guess it is another Cold War reflection. What do you know? Okay, so let's talk about cosmic radiation.
Cosmic radiation.
The
So
main staple. Let me explain real quick. Cosmic radiation in the comic book
I
verse,
go for it.
because comic book radiation is the origin, or cosmic radiation is the origin of the Fantastic Four's powers. They were in space. They got bombarded by cosmic rays, which is a thing that Stanley made up. Okay, I'm just gonna say that, and there might be some sort of real world analogy to it, but like everything in Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer is founded on cosmic radiation, where Silver Surfer gets his powers, where the Fantastic Four get their powers, what they need to detect in order to figure out what's going on. They need a cosmic radiation detector, a cosmic radiation field disruptor. So that's why a lot of the science is just gobbledygook, because it's all founded on this fictional radiation.
But it's not as fictional as you might think.
What?
Yeah, there are particles, I guess is the best word for them, called cosmic rays. And basically, they are incredibly high energy particles. Like the Large Hadron Collider, the world's biggest particle accelerator, millions of times more energetic than what they produce there. Um, and they fly through space, and we can detect them on Earth, and they just deliver a ton of energy. There's not very, they're not all that common, but there's a bunch passing through you right now, I'm guessing.
I feel violated.
Yeah. No, they're actually really, really interesting. When they discovered them, they thought it was, a problem with their detector, because they're like, nothing should have energies this high. This makes no sense. And they determined that there's like a few sources of them in the universe, and it's from like the most high energy events in the solar system, which makes sense because they're high energy particles. So like supernova, stuff going on in the centers of galaxies, like big unusual stars like quasars. They're
Mm-hmm.
cosmic rays, and they wouldn't turn your they wouldn't give you superpowers.
Oh, that was my next question.
Yeah, unfortunately. One thing that's interesting is that they have enough energy to flip bits in transistors, especially in satellites.
Oh,
So they
is
estimate
that why
that
my TV doesn't work sometimes?
actually on an old school TV where it actually picked up airwave signals and you tuned it between two channels,
Mm-hmm.
a certain percentage of that static is cosmic rays passing through your TV.
What?
I
That's
forget
actually
what
pretty cool.
percentage it is. It's not that high, but you can see cosmic rays just at probably not your own house because no one has these kind of TVs anymore. But
Yeah. Is cosmic ray sort of like a blanket term for all of the radiation, the vast amounts of different radiation in space that we don't understand, or is this a very specific kind
it's
of particle?
it's a specific kind of radiation. It's very high energy, and it comes from certain sources, certain types of events and stars produce cosmic rays.
Oh, okay.
But basically, they're really high energy.
That's actually pretty cool. Are there studies to try and harness this?
Well, they just pass right through pretty much everything.
Oh, because they're
Yeah.
just too energetic that you can't contain them.
Well, and when they reach Earth's atmosphere, our magnetic field kind of either deflects them or, makes them lose a bunch of energy. So um, that's why that's a good thing, because if as many cosmic rays reached Earth as enter our atmosphere, life would not exist. The DNA would just be shredded to pieces before it could, develop.
Like they should talk about that stuff in Fantastic Four.
Its
That would actually
cosmic
be really
rays
cool.
are probably the single biggest deterrent to interstellar travel.
Oh wow, really?
Yes. Because they're incredibly high energy, and it doesn't affect us much on Earth because of our atmosphere and our magnetic field. So how do you prevent people from having their DNA completely vaporized by these when they're in interstellar space with no atmosphere, no magnetic fields.
Holy cow.
It is the single biggest deterrent. Well, okay. It is one of the single biggest. It is a deterrent to interstellar travel.
Okay. Like, there's more out there.
So yeah, cosmic radiation. It's comic bookified, but not as made up as you might think.
Yeah, okay, because, I guess, I'm assuming Stan Lee did not know this when he made the Fantastic Four, but...
I'm guessing he did.
Oh,
It's pretty on, and
It's not impossible.
Cosmic rays were well understood by the time he would have been creating these characters.
Okay, because that's what that's where the Fantastic Four spawned. They travel into space. A wave of cosmic radiation comes and scrambles their DNA and turns them into fantastic superheroes.
Yep. In real life, it would just no, you wouldn't even get cancer. It would kill you faster than that.
Yeah. So yeah, like similar how gamma radiation it's a real thing, but in the fictional Marvel world, it gives you superpowers. In real life, it'll just
in
give
real
you
life,
cancer.
you would start vomiting blood, and then your organs would start to fail.
Yeah. Because
If you wanna,
everything's getting ionized. We talked about this in Incredible Hulk, kids.
Yeah. if you read What If by Randall Munroe, creator of the comic XKCD, he has a chapter in there about what would happen if all your DNA suddenly vanished.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what would happen if you were exposed to cosmic rays directly.
Ballin'. All right. Any more science you want to talk about, Ben?
That's all I got. This was a pretty good one, but, not because of anything in the movie.
Okay. I was going to say we should move along to fun facts, but honestly, I got out all my fun facts mid-discussion.
Yeah.
Did anybody else have any lingering ones out there?
No.
No, I think this one kind of speaks for itself.
Okay. Then we do have one tweet this week outside of our usual supply from Twitter Tom that just says you guys are awesome, which we always appreciate, Twitter Tom. You're the best as well. We got currently in the middle of a Twitter campaign that involves me giving all of our Twitter followers a superhero name. And one of our followers is known as Mustache PI, aka @Swami227, and I gave him the superhero name The Stash, with the ability to solve every situation with just his mustache. No explanation necessary. Just somehow the story works itself into that the situation is resolved because he has a fantastic mustache.
I'm envisioning like a handlebar mustache, but then like the droopy part is like prehensile.
Yeah, like bobo, but not nostril hair. Because that's what that is.
What the hell?
That was an anime. All right, I just made a
Okay.
sick anime reference.
Good for you.
But he tweeted back at us, and his tweet was, "By day, unassuming antique shop bouncer Russ, the walrus chevron. By night, the stash."
Antique bouncer.
We have to say, Mustache PI, I believe real name Tom Royer? If I'm allowed to say that.
You might want to just cut the last name. I don't know how we feel about.
Okay. I'll delete that. I'll just refer to him by his Twitter name, Mustache PI. And we have to say, Mustache PI, that is Twitter gold that you handed us. Antique shop bouncer.
Antique shop bouncer.
Russ, the walrus chevron, which we know is not your real name. So you made that up, and it's gold. So we just wanted to give you a shout-out for such an amazing tweet. Okay, but other than that, unless anyone really wants to dig deep into because of this movie, even though we haven't done them in a while, we haven't really been prepping them is kind of the thing. No?
I got nothing. Hold on. I'm trying to think of a good porn title.
Oh, of course, because of this movie turned into, not because of this movie anymore, but what porn title can we make out of this film?
Rise of the Golden Shower. Oh, I hate myself.
No. What's something dirty that starts with the letter S?
I don't know. I don't want to know. Sex.
Yeah, see? Yeah, we don't... Oh.
Rise of the Silver Schlong.
Rise of the Silver Steamer.
Oh God. Can we cut this whole section?
See, yeah, we don't want to do this anymore. But
it's not funny.
We gotta
It's
know
too forced.
The fans. It's too forced. It's too forced. I might still leave it in though because just because of our reaction to how much we hate it, but we still like it at the same time.
I do really hate it.
Okay. Okay, so that looks like it's going to wrap it up for today's Superfan. Superhero Movie Club is recorded and produced by Triup Cop Productions, website pending. If you like what you hear, show us your support by rating us on iTunes. It doesn't cost you a single monetary value of any worth, but what it does pay back is warm, fuzzy feelings towards us. So if you have not rated us on iTunes, that is how we can expose ourselves to new fans and grow the community and talk to more people. What?
We don't want to expose ourselves to anyone.
Well, I'm not allowed to use the word expose at all anymore.
No, but you have to watch your phrasing.
We're gonna expose. SHMC is gonna expose full frontal, completely to all of its fans, and we want as many viewers as possible. And Ben's going to be at the forefront of this extreme full frontal exposure that we're doing through social media and all of our podcast episodes. So please rate us on iTunes.
I will not be involved in any of that. I'm just going to encourage people to head to reddit.com/r/superhero movie club. Because what brings me warm fuzzies is not ratings on iTunes, but when people continue discussing the movie on the subreddit, it's been good so far. People have been like, "Hey Ben, you're full of shit," and I'm like, "Well, yeah, you're right."
Tell me I'm wrong, but tell me why.
Yeah, don't just yell at me. Be like, "You're wrong, and I'm right, and here's why." And I'll be like,
We've actually gotten some great discussions.
It's been good, yeah.
We also have another outlet for you to tell Ben he's wrong. Twitter page @SuperheroMC. Go on there, give us your comments, whatnot. Don't tell us about the time you learned about Joseph Mengele, because don't do that anymore. That's gone its course.
We weren't getting that. Actually, we're in the middle of I'm sorry. Hold on. I'll do this because we're not in the middle of it by the time this comes out. And if you follow us on Twitter, I will definitely give you a superhero name with an absurd ability based on what I know about your previous tweets and your Twitter handle name.
Yeah. And also, if you actually want to tell me that I'm full of shit on Twitter, at Ben, Ben_Barbado.
That works too.
If you want to contact me directly, but please don't. I don't ever use Twitter.
That's all right. That's it today. I'm your host. I'm going to say that again because that was some weird phrasing I just did. Well, that'll do it today. Then I'm your host, Michael Maurer.
James Skylar Houtsma.
And Ben Anderson.
Without the pause. Oh.
Yeah, I'm giving up the pause.
He's evolving into a different person. This
isn't even my final form.
I hope you all have a super week.